All right, looks like we're firing up here. Let's see. There's always a latency here, so if you can hear me and see me, I can't see you or hear you yet. And it looks like we are live. How's it going, everybody? So, if you guys can hear me and see me, go ahead and let me know over here in the chat box. Make sure that I'm loud and clear and you can see me and everything's going good. Want to make sure that we're all good, since I've had some problems in the past with some live Q&As not going so well. So, all good here, all good. Excellent. Thanks, Scott and Steve. So, welcome everyone to the first live Q&A of 2019. I am super excited for this year, so I'm hoping this is going to be a really good Q&A, and we're going to answer some really good questions here. I am really excited about everything that I have coming up in less than a month. In less than a week, I have a big event coming up, and then in less than a month, I have a big event coming up, and this year is just going to be full of a lot of stuff. So I'm so glad you guys are with me. I'm glad that you're going to be coming along with me. Hopefully you'll be coming along with me for 2019. So if you are new to the live Q&A, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. And if you are new, how I typically do this is kind of just off the cuff. I just typically answer as many questions as I can, just kind of in order. I've already noticed that there's a lot of people already leaving questions over in the comment box, and there's actually some questions left over on Patreon under the video, under the post questions. So I will also get to those eventually, but I usually just answer them in the order that you guys leave them. If for some reason video goes down, if the audio is not good, just let me know over in the chat box, and I'll try to adjust that and get to that. Been having a ton of technical difficulties, it seems like, the last two times that I did a live Q&A. So hopefully this time we won't have any difficulties and everything will go nice and smooth. So just to give you guys a little bit of an update on where I'm at, I am currently back in Joshua Tree, California, actually in 29 Palms, California, at my best friend Murphy's house. Murphy is the guy that started the PCT with me. He was in the first video that started hiking with me on day one that had like the super short shorts. He is currently in Kuwait. He is a Marine. We're actually on a military base right now. So he is over there serving our country. And Snuggles and I decided to pop down and visit his wife and kids because he's been gone for about 5 months. So we just wanted to come down, say hi, and spend a little time with them. So that is where I currently am. So this is not my bedroom. I'm not this fancy to have really nice framed things and a headboard. Not fancy enough for a headboard. So that is where I'm at. All right. So again, if you're just joining us, welcome. And I guess I'll just go ahead and start answering some questions. So it looks like the first question up for tonight is from Gary, and Gary asks, what will be Snuggles' role during this thru hike? So that's a good question, and one that we talked about a lot. We are actually, Snuggles is not really going to be doing much during this thru hike at all. Her plan is actually to go back to our hometown in Indiana. She's going to go spend some time with her family. She's a very big family person. I'm not exactly that big of a family person, but she's actually going to go back to Indiana, spend a little bit of time with her mom and sister, and I'm basically going to be on my own for production and everything for about 2 to 3 months. So we are going to be kind of going our separate ways for about 3 months while I'm in production. That being said, I won't be alone because I will have Nemor with me, a bunch of people from the Arizona Trail Association, and we just thought it would be better that way. She did a lot for the PCT, gathering footage for me, sending it over to Kat, posting the videos, handling all of my media. So, you know, she did so much work, and I was so thankful for what she did. But this time, she definitely needs a break from that. So she's going to be headed back to Indiana while I do the hike and then go into some post-production. So after the hike, I'll actually be heading up to Salt Lake City which is where Nemor lives, and then we'll start editing and cutting down the film there until it's time for me to hop over to Scotland, which is another big thing that I'm going to tell you guys about here in a little bit. If I've told you this before, if I've told you things before, I apologize. I can't always remember the things that I talk about in Q&As and on videos. So I do apologize if you've heard me say some of this stuff before, but I gotta say it for everybody. So, all right, next question is Roving Roy. Do you plan on any night hiking, and what do you think about night hiking? I actually really enjoy night hiking. I don't like it all the time, and I'm not so into night hiking at the end of the day. I love night hiking in the morning. So if I can get up super early, like 4, sometimes 3 a.m. on the trail, and start hiking when it's still dark so I can watch the sunrise out on the trail, I love that. I absolutely love hiking in the dark and then watching the sun come up. That being said, I do enjoy every once in a while hiking at night towards the end of a day too. Just hiking really late into the night. I don't know if we're going to be doing any night hiking on the Arizona Trail. Most of the nights we're probably going to try to get to camp, shoot as much as we can in camp, and then do things like star time lapses, do a lot of audio at night, trying to capture things like coyote and elk and a bunch of wildlife on the trail. So we're probably going to be spending quite a bit of time in camp. This hike's going to be totally different for me. So instead of doing like my 20 to 40 mile days, we're really looking at doing like right under 20 or right over 20 miles a day. Because our main focus for this hike is not just to do the hike, but also to capture the best footage to make the best film that we possibly can when we get off the trail. So that's really going to change things. So I'm not going to be in crazy, super fast hiker mode. It's going to be more about the film and about shooting as much as we can. So with doing that, you obviously are taking more time to set those shots up and get what you can. So that's what I think about night hiking. Overall, I like it. Aaron says, greetings from Southern Indiana. What's up, Aaron, man? Just wondering what are my thoughts might be on the new tarp tent, Eon, lithium. LI stands for lithium. I'm actually pretty excited about that tent. I recently sent a message to Henry Shire telling him that whenever they first start getting some of the first ones, I am super interested in checking out the tent. If he needs anyone for field testing, I am super interested in checking out the tent. It looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with my Plexamid that I have right now, but that new tarp tent, I've been waiting quite some time for Henry to start doing some new designs. I love tarp tents. I think Henry has some of the best designs out on the market, but some of his weights are a little heavy for me. Some of his tents set up a little too complicated for me, like the rainbow. So I was really, really excited to see him do a new design. And then with that tent coming in as light as it's coming in at, it's going to be pretty sweet. So I'm pretty excited about it. Definitely want to check one out. And I will definitely be buying one when it comes out to do like a comparison video on the Plexamid. So Tony asks, what do you think about the monthly subscription boxes like Karen, where they send you random gear selections every month? I think they are expensive for gear you might not like. Yeah, actually, Karen has reached out to me multiple times asking me if I want to do a partnership with them and talk about their products in my videos and give away subscription boxes, and I've kind of turned them down. I'm also not a big fan of the subscription box thing. For me, it's really, it kind of goes against my lifestyle, right? So I really hardcore consolidated, got rid of things that I don't currently need. I'm all about collecting memories and adventures over collecting stuff. And I think to a point, those boxes are just like them sending you stuff that you didn't really need every month. So yeah, I'm not a giant fan. I think they're cool for some people. Like if you're just getting into hiking, just getting into backpacking, I'm sure that's an awesome thing to kind of just try new things out here and there to figure out what you like. But yeah, I'm not really big into those. So Leonidas, what is up, Leo? Thoughts on the new down fills on EE quilts? Would you order a higher temp rating than previously if you knew that the old temp rating was accurate for your metabolism, pre-bed routine, etc.? That's a good question. Actually, Tim Marshall at Enlightened Equipment recently sent me a message asking me if I would be interested in checking out one of the new fills. So when I bought my Enigma 20 right before the PCT, they actually did the new fill in that quilt. So I think that I already have that quilt. Um, and I think it's awesome. I think that there's a lot of people that have kind of complained about E's quilts being a little understuffed over the years. So I think it's great that Tim and the crew finally decided to, tackle that head on and start putting more fill in their quilts. So I'm a big fan of that. Aside from going with a different temp rating, I'm pretty happy with 20 degree. I've been down in some pretty cold temps with my 20-degree quilt. For me, going from the the Revelation to the Enigma, just having that closed foot box made a massive difference for me in warmth. And with my new quilt, I also went with a long and wide. I didn't really need the wide, but I went ahead and did it. And that allows me to kind of wrap the quilt around me a little bit more. So that has also kept me a hell of a lot warmer than my old Revelation that was a long, and it obviously had the open foot box. So that definitely keeps me a lot warmer, and that was worth the upgrade right there. But I don't know if I would upgrade it to a lower temp unless I knew that I was going to be doing some like high alpine hiking. If I was going to go do some mountaineering, or knew I was just going to do winter camping, I might go with like maybe a 10 or a 20. Maybe no, not, I'm sorry, not a 20. A 10 or a 0, and I'd probably go with a 0 degree because I've never had a 0 degree quilt. But right now I'm pretty happy with a 20. Throat was really getting dry. Oh, brought to you by Alkaline 88 water. Cheap water from the gas station. All right, next question. Howdy from Toronto, Canada. What's up? Go Leafs. I'm an old Maple Leafs fan, so which hat are you going to rock for the AZT? Big dog. So I love my Arizona Trail hat, but I actually decided to get some hats made with the Outdoor Evolution logo on them. So the company that makes the hats that I wear is called Top of the World. Um, it the people who make the trail hats is called Crown Trail, but Top of the World makes all their hats. So I actually reached out to Top of the World, gave them my logo, and they're currently designing those hats for me. So it's basically just like this. It's kind of like a dark blue, and then it has the Outdoor Evolution logo in the middle. So if I get those in time, I might be wearing that. But if not, I think I'm just going to wear my Arizona Trail hat. To a point, it's kind of geeky. Like, it's like going to a concert and wearing a shirt with the band's name on it. But I just really love this hat. This is my favorite hat. And I own a bunch of these. I own an AT1 and a PCT one and the AT1. And I'm going to own the Outdoor Evolution one. But this is my favorite for some reason. It just fits me the best. It has the most trail miles on it. So it's probably going to be this one. But if I get those super sweet Outdoor Evolution hats, I'm probably going to rock one of those. All right. Next question is, do I use micro spikes in the snow/ice? I have used micro spikes in the snow/ice. I don't typically use them. It just depends. It depends on the environment. It depends on what I'm going to be hiking and where. Where I'm going to be hiking and where I'm going to be hiking and what I'm going to be hiking. December 2017, Nemor and I did a rim to rim to rim hike of the Grand Canyon, and it was in December, and there was supposed to be a ton of snow, so I actually did take my micro spikes on that trip, that Grand Canyon hike, and I never used them. And then on the PCT, even though I was going through the Sierra, even though I had all that snow and all that ice, I rarely used my micro spikes. So it really depends on the situation. I think any time that I would use my micro spikes it's probably going to be hardcore enough for me to use crampons. So I don't know, take that like you want to, but I personally rather just kind of watch my step on the stuff that I'm hiking on. And if I was going to go do some really like heavy pitches on ice and stuff, I would be using crampons. I would be using an actual safety device crampon versus a micro spike. So, all right, that's everybody telling me it was all good. It was all good. All good. Hey, from Louisville, Kentucky. Fun fact, David, I don't know if I've said this before. I almost moved to Louisville right before I hiked the AT in 2015. Snuggles and I were like this close to moving to Louisville. I've spent a lot of time in that city. I love Louisville, Kentucky, especially Bardstown Road. Ear ecstasy. Holler if you know what I'm talking about with ear ecstasy. Sad. Miss it. You spend a lot of time buying records in that store. Good evening from the beautiful Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. Hello, Dennis. I miss the Shanties sometimes. I miss the Blue Ridge. All right, next question. Here we go. Kevin asked, any updates on the upcoming website and what kind of contributors for that site are you looking for? So, the website is set to launch on February 1st. That means we are less than a week away from the official launch of Outdoor Evolution, as long as everything goes smooth. We thought we were going to be launching it on January 1st. That didn't exactly work out. Let's just say it was complicated. The person who was building the site and the person who was doing the work for us ended up not working out in the long run. We had to let that said person go, and we had somebody else rebuild the site in kind of a different vision that we had. We'd originally had this vision for the site, and the person who was building it wasn't doing what we wanted at all. It was totally left field, not what we wanted, and they weren't willing to work with us the way that they should have. So we ended up going with a buddy of mine who actually owns a media company in my hometown called Blackstrap Media. They took it over and completely rebuilt the website from the ground up. So hopefully we'll be launching on February 1st this coming up week. We're about 99% sure that it's going to launch on February 1st. So keep your eyes open because I'll be posting a bunch of stuff all over the place about the site. And what kind of contributors that we're looking for? Anybody that makes outdoor media, anyone that has a story to tell, anyone that wants to inspire other people to get outdoors and see new things and live an alternative lifestyle and ride across the country on a bike and go do a long through hike. But we're also looking for more deep articles. We're not looking for your typical, this is my trip video, this is my gear list, but things that have a little more thought into them. I know that sounds weird, and I think that you guys will understand whenever the site launches the type of media that we're really going for. Outdoor Evolution is a couple things. One, I really wanted to take all of the people that I've met in the outdoor community, whether it's from living on the road in a van, whether it's from through hiking, people I meet on the trail, whether it's from bike touring, and I wanted to give all those people that I've met that I think are super fascinating, that create amazing media, whether they're a writer or a photographer or a videographer. I wanted to give them a platform to publish their media on. And I have been lucky enough to have a huge audience. I think it's huge. 150,000 people now are subscribed to the channel, and then I have you guys that support me amazingly through Patreon, and I wanted a way to share my audience and what I have been so lucky to have with some other creators, to let them have a platform to put their media out there so people could see them in the spotlight. So that was one of the main reasons for the website. And the other reason was I wanted to start a media company. So Outdoor Evolution isn't just a website, it's also Outdoor Evolution Media, which includes all of, can you hear the dogs barking? Which includes, dogs are freaking out. Includes the documentary that I'll be filming. It includes the Darwin on the Trail YouTube channel. it includes some of the other big projects that I want to work on in the next year, working with some companies and stuff. So that's really what Outdoor Evolution was. It was a way for me to kind of step off YouTube and be able to create other types of media that weren't necessarily made for the YouTube platform, if that makes sense. So I know that was a huge ramble and we had a bunch of dogs barking, but I don't know. I just think it's really important. I wanted to share that with you guys about what it's all about and why I'm doing it. It's a way for me to kind of expand my media and put it out for more people to to get my media in different ways, whether it's through film or whether it's through photo or whether it's through publishing someone else's article or a YouTube video. Whatever it is, that's what Outdoor Evolution stands for. So, on to the next question, because that was a really long answer. All right, what we got here? Steve says, packing question. Where/how do you carry your trash to pack out? Seems like most people skip that in videos. Yeah, I think I've said it in a couple times in videos, but I guess I never really hardcore talk about it. I just keep a gallon Ziploc bag inside of my food bag, and then all of the trash that I have throughout the day, when I get to camp at the end of the day, I just take all my trash out of my pockets and stuff, and then when I'm done eating, and I just put it all in that gallon Ziploc bag. And then I'll hold on to that. It just gets like this big fat pillow of trash sometimes, which sucks. And then when I get to a trash can somewhere, or if I go into a town to resupply, or anywhere that I can find a place to get rid of it, then I throw it away. I usually just empty out the gallon bag, throw it back in my bag, and then every couple resupplies, I'll throw that bag away and get a new gallon bag because it starts to get gross and stuff. But yeah, I just keep it right in my food bag, and then throughout the day, I just store my wrappers and my trash just in my pockets, like that pouch that I keep up here on my my shoulder straps. I just put it right there in that pouch, and yeah, that's how I do it. So that's how most people do it, I think. Tony says, I know you have answered this in a previous video, but what packs did you and Snuggles have for the AT? That's a good question. I'm going to get a drink of water because I'm getting dry. We're in the Mojave Desert, and it's just super dry down here. If any of you have ever spent time down here, you'll know what I mean. So the packs that we used on the AT, I started and finished with the Osprey Atmos 65. That is the pre-anti-gravity version. So they have that anti-gravity version that they have now that has that crazy backscape. Mine was a pre-anti-gravity. So I love that pack. I think that they ruined that pack when they went to the anti-gravity system. They added weight. It wasn't as comfortable as my old Atmos 65. And then Snuggles actually started with a Osprey Kestrel. I can't remember the literage of it, but it was a Kestrel. And then by Tennessee, she actually got rid of that. And then in Irwin, she picked up an Osprey Aura anti-gravity, which was the woman's version or the female's version of the Atmos. So we both carried Osprey on the entire AT. All right, Brian says, hey, bud, I'm here. What's up, Brian? I was just talking about you and the Pinhoti Trail today. So, Steve says, speaking of the AT, what do you do different in setup / teardown / packing on wet days? Nothing really. Whenever we were out on the AT, just like my trash, we kept a couple extra gallon Ziploc bags inside of our tent bag. And then if I woke up and my fly was completely soaked, I actually took my rain fly and shoved it into a gallon Ziploc bag, put it in my tent bag, put it in my pack, and then during the day at lunch, I would get that out and I'd string it up somewhere and just let it dry out. But other than that, if my tent was completely soaking wet, everything was soaking wet, I would take my tent, I would kind of stuff it and put it on the outside pocket of my pack. And same thing when I stopped, got a chance during the day, whenever the sun was out, I would just string my fly up in my tent and just dry it out that way. Always worked. Yeah, that's the best thing. It's still what I do now. except for now I don't typically keep the gallon bags. I just take the tent, I stuff it down, put it on the outside pocket of my pack, and then I dry it out when it's time. Sean says, will you do an updated gear breakdown of the stuff you carry in your everyday life? Man, that would be a huge video. You're talking my camera bag, you're talking my computer bag, you're talking my typical hiking bag, my van. That's everyday life for me. Unless you're talking about my day pack. If you're talking about my day pack, I could probably do that in the future. I do currently have a new day pack. I don't have the day pack I used to have. Yeah, maybe that's something I could do in the future, for sure. David says, yes, Ear Ecstasy. Rest in peace, Ear Ecstasy. Such a good record shop. If any of you ever visited Louisville from like the early 90s, maybe the 80s, until like 2012, there's an amazing record store in Louisville, Kentucky on Bardstown Road called Ear Ecstasy. It was the shit. It was such a good place. I spent so many days there. We used to drive about 2 hours from where we lived, and we'd go skate at the Louisville skate park, and then we'd go to Ear Ecstasy and hang out for hours digging through records, and then we'd go to like a show at this place called Headliners all the time. David probably just heard a bunch of stuff that he is familiar with, and a bunch of you out there also probably just heard a bunch of stuff that you have no clue what I'm talking about. Louisville, Kentucky, it's a great city, cool place to grow up around if you're in high school and stuff. There's a lot of cool stuff to do there. So Aaron says, I've heard some troubling reports about Joshua Tree due to the shutdown. What's the current overall condition of the park? That's a good question. It's actually great. So whenever I first got here this past Tuesday, one of the first things that I did on Wednesday was I actually went up to the park. And I went up to the park with trash bags. My plan was to pick up as much trash as I possibly can and just try to do my part and clean up the park. And I was pleasantly surprised at how well the park was maintained. Now, I didn't go all the way to like the west entrance. I'm more over on the east entrance, so I can't really speak for that. But from about half of the park to the east entrance, the park was in excellent shape. I only picked up a couple small pieces of trash, and they looked like pieces of trash that had floated out there like from the city and stuff. So it was in really good shape. I didn't see any trees torn down. I didn't see any graffiti, and the park rangers were actually working. So I've been up to the park. If you guys don't know, I'm a huge Joshua Tree National Park fan. I love that park. It's probably my favorite in the country. So I have been to the park every day since we've been here, and I was so amazed that every time I went up there, there was a ranger sitting in the booth, the ticket booth, every single time that I went up to the entrance. Obviously, they weren't taking money. They weren't really checking passes. They were just handing out brochures because, you know, they love the park. They're not getting paid, and they're still out there doing it. So I think that there's a lot of rangers out in the park, you know, still cleaning up. The maintenance crews were still out there doing stuff, even though they were shut down. So that tells you how amazing the National Park Service is. The NPS are just full of great people. I've never really met anybody that worked for the NPS that didn't love the NPS, that didn't love the national parks. So I was pleasantly surprised at how well the park was maintained, and yeah, it's good. It's good from what I've seen. That being said, now that the parks are open, I encourage everyone, get out to your closest national park or monument as soon as you possibly can. This weekend's over. If you're off during the week, go to a park. If next weekend, go to a park. Support the NPS. They definitely need it. They need the admission fees. Go spend some money in the park stores. Yesterday, I went out to the Joshua Tree Park store and dropped quite a bit of money on stuff that I didn't really need, that I'd plan on just giving away on like our monthly gear giveaways here on Patreon. Just to support the parks. I'm a huge national park geek, and I think it's one of the things that I'm the proudest of in this country. I think it's amazing that we as a country decided to set aside all of these amazing places and preserve them for the people to come and visit and enjoy. I just think they're an amazing thing. So get out and support the Park Service, please. Please support the Park Service. They really, really need it at this time, at all times. Tony says both my dogs' ears perked up with the dogs barking. Yeah, those dogs are nuts here. How do you feel about Andrew Skirka not using the standard bear bag? I saw that he wrote an article about that. I'm not a big Andrew Skirka fan. Not because I don't respect the guy. I have a ton of respect for the guy, but I don't really follow his media. I don't really read his post. I saw somewhere that he said that not using a bear bag, using alternatives like like sleeping with your food and using the lock sack. I've done that in the past. I wouldn't personally suggest that anybody do those things. I think it's weird that he wrote an article encouraging people to not hang their food. I think that is the wrong message to send. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to hardcore comment on that. I respect Andrew and everything that he does, but I just don't follow his stuff. And I don't think that I have enough of an opinion to dissuade anyone from watching his media. And he is a very, very well-educated man in the backcountry. So I would never dog his opinion of something and what he wrote. And like I said, I'm just not a big enough fan. I haven't read enough into it to give my comment. So that was a really roundabout way of saying I have no comment. Next question. I'll be a ranger at Canyonland soon, and I'm not too familiar with that type of desert. Do you have any tips for beating the heat? Awesome. Congratulations on becoming a ranger. I'm interested. What type of a ranger? What will you be doing at the park? What service will you be doing as a ranger? Leave that over here in the comment box. Thank you for your service, or your soon-to-be service for the MPS. That is so awesome, and I'm very jealous. I've always wanted to be a park ranger. It's a childhood dream of mine. I think that the best things that you can do in the desert are definitely have some good covering. I always hike and wear some sort of a sun shirt to help kind of bounce the sun off. Always make sure that I use sunscreen, making sure that I always stay hydrated, getting some good shade. The good thing about the Southwest up there, down here, is as long as you can find some sort of shade during the day and kind of take those small breaks and get out of the sun, the desert's really not that bad. I've done a lot of hiking in a lot of different deserts. New Mexico, Arizona, California, up there around Canyonlands, and I really don't think that it's as extreme as what people make it out to be. Now, I think that if you go out unprepared, if you go out wearing the wrong stuff, if you don't hydrate, it's a very dangerous place, and it's a really easy place to die if you're not using your brain and you're not making smart decisions. That being said, I think that if you just do small things like make sure you hydrate, make sure you're getting out of the sun, make sure that you're having good sun protection, you're going to be fine. And that up there is a little farther north desert. I mean, desert's desert, but down here in the Mojave, definitely a little bit more extreme. Your temperatures are definitely going to get up higher. The sun just tends to beat down a lot more here. Up there, it's pretty mild desert. That's Abbey country, man. That is so awesome. Edward Abbey. If you guys aren't Edward Abbey fans, if you don't know anything about Edward Abbey, go out and pick up the book Desert Solitaire. One of the greatest books ever written. Absolutely beautiful. Abbey was a poet, and Canyonlands was that's Abbey land. That was his place there in Arches and basically anywhere in Utah. So awesome that you're a park ranger, that you're becoming a park ranger. I'm so jealous, and again, thank you so much for your service. It's awesome. Scott says, van life. Any updates to our van? I'm looking at water reclaim system. I'm looking to build a stealth van or sprinter, although sprinter seems overkill for me. So for the van, we actually have done an update. Whenever I got off the PCT, we actually installed a fridge, a Dometic fridge that runs off of solar. We installed LED lights, and I finally installed my my ventilation system, my fan. Which those three things I really wanted to do before I started the PCT, and I just ran out of time and doing all that stuff for the van. So I finally got a chance to come back and get all that stuff done. So yeah, I've done a bunch of updates to the van. Need to do a couple of other updates. Need to kind of finish off some stuff with the insulation. Um, but if you are looking into building a van, and you're thinking Sprinter or whatever, I would suggest the Dodge ProMaster. Definitely a lot better on fuel. It has more internal room, square footage. So if I was going to go buy a tall top van right now, I wouldn't be looking at a Sprinter. I would definitely be looking at a ProMaster. Great van. Those things are expensive though, for sure. You know, we built it out of a Ford E150, and that thing does great. But again, if I was going to buy a tall top, I would definitely buy a ProMaster. As far as a water system, for the van, we haven't installed anything like that. I know what you're talking about, putting like the tube in. We actually have a jerry can. It's a Hydro Blue who makes backpacking filters. They make this product called the jerry can. That is, it's a pressurized pump filter. We're actually going to be doing a review of that over on Outdoor Evolution. So on the website, there's going to be a whole alternative lifestyle category where we're going to talk about van living, traveling to national parks, living in campers, stuff like that. So we're actually diving into that type of media over on the website. People have been asking for that from me, and I just never have time to do it on the YouTube channel. So we will be writing articles about van life. So definitely keep an eye out for those articles on the site, and that jerry can. It's a really cool thing to have. You can't collect water from it, but it does have a filter in it. It is pressurized. That's what we use. We really like it. Backcountry Ranger, awesome. It's so awesome. I am so jealous of your job. So jealous of you being a backcountry park ranger. It is hard to sleep at night when the temperatures are. Is it hard to sleep at night when the temperatures are high? Yeah, not in the desert. At night in the desert, it always cools off. It always gets nice and chilly. If you ever hear people talk about the desert cold, it always gets nice and cool at night in the desert. I don't think I've ever been in the desert at night where it was hot. I experienced that more out on like the East Coast when it's real humid. If you're talking about like July or August or something, being out like on the AT at night, it's just hot and nasty and muggy. You're sticky and sweaty. Yeah, I experience it a lot more out there than I do in the desert. In the desert, no, it's always nice and cool at night. And thanks, Darwin. I'm happy to serve. It's been my dream job, and this will be my first season. So cool. So cool. All right, so I'm done with all the questions on this list. If you guys have any more questions, you can go ahead and throw them over here in the chat box. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to jump over to Patreon real quick, and I'm going to find some of the questions that I got over there. So I don't typically take questions here on Patreon, but since people left them, I'll answer them up. There's Scott's question. Scott, I think that we got all of yours. And then Jonathan Sontag asked, what is the one piece of advice I would give someone planning to hike in the Sierra? I answered it over there, and I'm still going to hold to that answer. Don't go in the Sierra when I went in the Sierra. It sucked. Wait. Or go earlier, whenever all that snow is still nice and hard packed. As far as what advice I would give someone planning to hike the Sierra, take your time. Don't rush it. If it's nasty, if you get in a bad situation, don't try to push it. Don't try to hike it out. Find a way to bail out like I did. You know, we were in the Sierra for 3 days during that snowstorm. And I've said it a bunch of times. We hiked 15 miles in 3 days. And it's because we were pushing it. Every day we thought, oh, it'll get better. Oh, we'll get better. And what ended up happening? We ended up bailing out anyways. So if you're hiking through the Sierra, if the weather turns and you have an opportunity to get out of the Sierra, get out and wait it out. If you get up to the Sierra and say you're through hiking the PCT and you're at Kennedy Meadows, the advice that I gave everybody and that I also took was go in. You have a little bit of time where you can go into the Sierra and you can still bail out at not Bishop, Lone Pine, and you can see the Sierra. If the weather is bad, if it looks like there's too much snow, get out there. Don't go forward. Wait it out. Sit and wait. Don't risk it. There are too many people that have died in the Sierra because they pushed it. They decided to hike out into a blizzard. They decided to cross a stream that was way too strong for them to be crossing, and they lost their lives for it. So it's never worth risking it, trying to be the tough guy hiker like I tried to be, and pushing it, because in the end, I failed, right? I had to bail out. So spending those 3 days in the Sierra, fighting it, wasn't worth it at all. I wish we would have bailed out sooner. So that is my biggest piece of advice for anybody thinking about hiking it. All right, next question from over on Patreon. The family and I are recent Patreon subscribers. Welcome, and thanks for being there, David. And have really enjoyed my content. Thank you. Any thoughts on how to introduce children, 10 and 13-year-olds, to backpacking? What size pack? How much weight should they carry? How many miles per day? I'm going to be honest with you, David. I am not the best person to ask that question to. As far as I can answer, the best way I think to get them into backpacking, start taking them on day hikes. When I was a kid, I did a lot of hiking with my mom. And then, some of the first times I ever went camping or slept in a tent were in my backyard. Take them out on a day hike one day. Get them out, go hiking all day long, and then come back to your house and set up your tent in your backyard. Fire up the backpacking stove, make them food. Have that backcountry experience without really taking them into the backcountry, and let them get used to it that way. And it's a way that you can really tell if your kids are going to like it or not, because they might not. Some kids just don't like being dirty and hiking all day and being in the backcountry. Some kids just aren't like that. But it's a good way to kind of test the waters and see if they would be into doing something like that. Just take them out hiking, have them camp in the backyard, and then just start slowly introducing them into that, and then take them eventually for their first backpacking trip. As far as what pack size, how much weight they should carry, how many miles per day, I don't feel like I'm really qualified to answer any of those questions. I don't have kids. I'm not a big kid person, so I don't want to give you the wrong advice. My suggestion is maybe go to a local outfitter. Maybe just do some research on the internet. I'm sure that there are some great websites out there for people that have taken their kids backpacking. I know there's a handful of YouTube channels here on YouTube of some families that have hiked like the AT. Like there was a family last year, I think it was 8 of them, a family of 8 that hiked the entire Appalachian Trail. I think that the youngest kid was like 1 or 2 years old. So, reach out to them, ask them their opinion and their advice, because they're definitely going to be way more qualified than I'm going to be. And then the last question over on Patreon is, since you recently showed us how to pack your backpack to be efficient as possible on the trail, what about your routine at the end of the day? Is there a normal order that you tend to do things when you're done hiking at the end of the day and set up camp? How much of a difference does rain make to your camp setup and other evening activities during a backpacking trip? If it's raining and I get to camp, first thing I'm doing is throwing my tent up. I'm crawling inside, trying to dry out, trying to get everything dry. I typically eat in my vestibule. I stay inside. Same thing with mosquitoes. There were times out on the PCT in northern Washington and southern Oregon where I was just being chased all day by clouds of mosquitoes. So same thing, just like rain. First thing I'm doing when I get to camp is quickly throwing up my tent, sometimes without taking anything off, and jumping inside. Aside from that, my typical camp setup is I'll usually get to where I'm going to camp for the night, I'll take my pack off, I'll start getting stuff out of my pack. Sometimes I sit down and I'm already hungry, so I'll sit down, I'll take my shoes off, I'll start eating something, and then once I get a little bit relaxed, once I wind down a little bit, then I'll set my tent up. Then I typically go, I eat dinner, I go get, I go get water if I need to get water, and then I come back, I eat, and after that I go and try to blow my pad up and get ready for bed. A lot of times before I go to bed, I will meditate. Sometimes I like to stretch, do yoga, but a lot of times I try to meditate, calm my brain down, calm my body down for the night so I can get a good night's sleep. I'll jump in my tent, and in my tent, I typically do like end of the day stuff. So if I have any sores or blisters, or my feet are dirty, I'll kind of tend to my feet. I'll pop some blisters if I have to. I'll bandage some stuff up. Usually take like my buff or a rag. I'll get it wet. I'll kind of clean in between my toes. And then I just kind of sit in my tent and just kind of lay there and relax. And eventually, I fall asleep. And then when I get up in the morning, morning's usually pretty fast. I get up, I grab my food, I sit in my tent, drink my coffee, and eat my food. Yes, in my tent. But I'm going to be leaving, so there won't be any food sent in my tent for the night. And then I pack all my stuff up, throw up my pack, and hit the trail. Pretty basic, pretty easy. I don't always do that, but that's how I do it most of the time. Can everybody still hear me okay? Am I still coming through? I've been over on Patreon reading those questions, so I actually haven't been paying attention to YouTube, so I apologize. Taking another drink. All right, so let's get back to the questions over here. Hey, we got a handful of them. Scott says, Nemore on a Q&A with me. Maybe. We might do one from the trail. So if some of you didn't get the news last time that I did this live Q&A, Nemore, from over at Nemore's World, that you guys have seen me hike with, I'm sure you guys are familiar with, we are hiking the Arizona Trail together, and we are shooting this film together. So Nemore and I had been wanting to partner on a project, and this came up, and it seemed like the perfect thing. So we will actually be working on this film together. I haven't released that yet, but this week I should be dropping 2 videos, a Tuesday video and a Thursday video. So you guys will probably, if I do the Tuesday video, I haven't 100% decided, but if I do the Tuesday video, you guys will get that at some point tomorrow. And it's me kind of giving that information finally, talking about the Arizona Trail documentary, talking about who is sponsoring the documentary, what the dates, kind of how we plan on doing the documentary, and that I'm hiking with Nemore. It's also a video talking about sponsorship. I decided that I would finally make a video kind of diving into the question or misconception that I get all the time, people thinking that I'm sponsored by gear companies like CPACs and Light Equipment. So it's kind of a short video, but it's me basically explaining how I don't accept personal sponsorships. I've never been paid to do a review, and that I don't, and why. And then kind of wrapping that into, you know, the Arizona Trail documentary and the fact that that film is going to be sponsored. However, that doesn't mean that I am sponsored, right? The film is sponsored. So I just kind of wanted to make a video clearing some of that up, just to be transparent with everybody, to be transparent with you guys. So I didn't do a pack video, you know, before I hit the trail, talking about all this gear, and me knowing that some of that gear was sponsored for the Arizona Trail, but me saying a lot that I am personally not sponsored. So does that make sense to anybody? I wanted to make a video just kind of being as transparent as I possibly could with everybody, because, you know, my integrity and my pride is a big deal to me. And my integrity to you guys and to the channel means a lot. It means a lot that I stay as honest as possible, and that when I talk about gear or give my opinions, that it means something, that I'm not, you know, a paid shill of a person that's taking money or bribes or gear from people in trade for reviews or anything, because I wouldn't do that. So I finally made a video kind of explaining all that. Not that it's really anybody's business. I actually even say that in the video. You know, for the record, it's not anybody's business. I shouldn't have to explain myself to anybody, but I'm a pretty transparent person. I'm a pretty honest person, so I always try to be as honest as possible. And you know, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing. I wouldn't be going out to shoot a full-length documentary in less than a month without my audience, right? Without everyone on YouTube and without all you guys here on Patreon, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. So, you know, I feel like I owe you guys at least to be honest. Like I owe that to everybody, to be as honest and as transparent as possible. So that was a big spiel. Kind of needed to get that off my chest. This video was a way for me to finally get that off my chest, because I get tired of answering questions. I get tired of just deleting people because people are just being asses, leaving really rude comments about me being paid and it being a commercial and all this crap. So I needed to get all of it off my chest. So thank you guys for letting me just now getting it off my chest. And thanks for watching. This is a pre-thank you for watching the video of me getting it off my chest. So all right, next question. God, that was a really long answer to Nemor on a Q&A with you. Yikes. All right, Jessica says, dang, I was watching episode 12 of your PCT hike and just checked my email. Welcome, Jessica. Hopefully you're still here. I just went on a really long tangent talking about all that stuff, but welcome. You're not too late. We're still rocking. We're still going. And episode 12. What was episode 12? Probably the Sierra. Was it the Sierra? Awful episodes. Terrible part of the trail. Snow. That's all that's out there. Just snow all over the place. Troy says, I think I remember you saying something about how you stuff your tent into a sack to avoid folding damage. Can you elaborate on that? Do you not fold it all? Yeah, so the reason that you want to stuff a lot of tents and a lot of gear is because a lot of tents on their rainflies have like a DWR coating or some sort of a seam seal on the seams on the inside. So by folding, you're actually putting creases in the material that can break down that coating and break down that material faster. Overall, whenever you fold any gear, any of that synthetic material, by putting those creases in it, you're actually breaking down the material. So by stuffing it, you're not breaking down the material as bad. So that's the whole point of stuffing a tent or stuffing a jacket or stuffing clothes or any of that stuff. It just allows it to last longer, and the coatings that they put on that, it allows that to last longer as well. Oh, yeah, the 8-person family on YouTube is Fight For Together. Yeah, that's them. I actually just watched their last episode, kind of their wrap-up of all their stuff. Really cool. Really, really cool that they did that. John says, sorry, I'm late to the party. No problem, John. I think that I just... No, never mind. I was going to say, I think I just answered your question that you left over on Patreon. Wrong person. But welcome, John. Audio's fine. All good. Excellent. John says, do you know what's been happening with permits during the government shutdown? I'm worried there could be another shutdown during the permit lottery window for my JMT hike, affecting my start date. Dude, I have no clue. I know that when the government shut down, if the governments who are issuing the permits, that's not going to happen. The JMT, though, might be ran by a separate organization. I don't know if it's necessarily a government organization that puts out those permits. Don't quote me on that, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I would just contact somebody. Contact Yosemite, or contact the JMT Association or the Sierra Club. Contact the Sierra Club and ask them, because they would definitely be able to give you some information on that. I personally haven't heard at all, though. Yosemite ran its permit lottery through shutdown, FYI. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Yosemite did run their permit lottery through the shutdown. So there's your answer, John. Yeah. Dogs are barking again. All right, guys. So we got about 9 minutes left. Usually we go a little bit over. So if you guys have any more questions for me, go ahead and shoot them over here in the comment box. Apparently there's 25 of you watching. I don't think that I've answered questions from 25 of you. So maybe there's some of you out there that are just watching me answer other people's questions. But if you got a question, throw it up there. I mean, that's what this is for. You know, no question is stupid. No question is redundant. I will answer the same question literally 30 times if I have to, if it gets you the answer. So throw it over here if you got one. All right, so next up we have great hammock versus tent video recently, by the way. I'm a hammock camper, and think you covered everything except that hammocks are often more expensive once you've got all the various accessories. Yeah, there was a lot of points that I cut a lot out of that video. We talked about a lot more of that video, but the truth of it is people don't want to sit and watch like an 18 to 25 minute video of us talking about the same thing. And a lot of that stuff I think is generally common sense and generally common knowledge about. You know, somebody said that, what did they say? Someone left a comment and said, one point that you didn't touch on is if there weren't trees, you couldn't hammock. Isn't that common sense? Don't we all know that you have to have trees to hammock? For the most part, I know that you can do other things like hammock stands, but come on. There's a reason I didn't talk about it in the video. So, yeah, but that is a good point. Hammock camping can definitely become a lot more expensive for the top quilt and the underquilt and the, you know, the bug net and all of the stuff. So it's definitely a lot more expensive. I do plan on maybe diving into hammock camping in the future. Maybe. I say that a lot. At the end of the day, though, I always just grab my tent or a tarp. Again, as I explained in the video, I'm just a lazy hiker, man. I get all of my effort. I put all of my effort into my 20 to 40 miles a day. At the end of that, I'm cashed out. I am not setting up all that stuff for the hammock. I'm just not doing it. Way too complicated for me. But more power to anyone that has the patience to set hammock equipment up, because I'm amazed at every time that I see a full-on hammock setup with all the stuff. It blows me away. It's an art to set that stuff up, but it's not my medium, so not me. All right. Okay, just call the Park Service this week. That'll be the best thing. I bet, though, if you call the Sierra Club, I bet that they also have some information on the JMT and the permit system. What are some of my favorite places to hike near my hometown in southern Indiana, or Louisville for that matter? Good question. So the place that I used to spend a lot of time hiking in when I lived in southern Indiana was actually in southern Illinois. It is called Shawnee National Forest. I used to do a lot of hiking in Shawnee. There's a certain place there that's kind of famous called Garden of the Gods, but I used to hike a lot of Shawnee. Bellsmith Springs is a really amazing place over there to check out. A lot of really cool swimming holes and natural springs. A lot of really good rock climbing too over there. There's actually a long distance trail that runs through there called the River to River Trail that I have always wanted to through hike and just haven't got around to it. It's not long at all. Not long even a little bit. But one of these days I'll get around to actually hiking that thing. So that's a favorite place of mine in that area. And then on the other side of Louisville, I'm sure you know of Red River Gorge. Snuggles and I used to hike there a lot. We used to do a lot of backpacking trips there, especially when we were preparing for our through hike of the Appalachian Trail. That's where we went to do all of our shakedown hikes, because it's very AT-ish with some of the climbs and the hills and stuff. So that is another excellent spot that's just on the other side of Louisville. What's my favorite temps for hiking and camping? Mine is just like this weekend. 50 is the high, 30 is the low, and of course sunny. Yeah, that would be probably right around in my favorite. Maybe up to the 60s, like 50s to 60s is the high, 30 to 30 as the low. Yeah, I'm getting good sleep at night. I'm staying dry and having a good day hiking. Yeah, I would say that would definitely be my favorite as well. All right, so next question. Will you be making the Outdoor Evolution hats available for purchase? I don't know yet. I might do a few select hats. Um, right now, the hats are basically for the contributors. Some of the people that. Oh, I think I died out for a second. Can you guys see me again? Can you see me? I think it lost me. Did everybody get to hear what I said? Let me switch angles. I'm gonna switch angles. How's that? I think I keep pausing, guys. Spotty. Alright, so let's try that. If I get kind of spotty, let me know. So, will I be making the Outdoor Evolution hats available for purchase? Possibly eventually. Right now, the hats are really for good now, good now, good now. Sweet. The hats are for all the contributors. So I had those made for me and then for everyone that's contributing. I ordered like 25 of them. I had 25 of those custom hats made. So we might throw up a very limited release of those on the website. But if we do that, I'll let you guys know. Actually, I was thinking about that. I'm probably going to give one away in like the gear giveaway for next month. But I might do a very small release on the website, like literally 10 of them. Might sell 10 of them on the website. So just keep an eye out for that. I'll let all of you guys know over on Patreon though before I decide to release those on the website because I'd rather you guys get them before anyone else. So that's a possibility. It's a possibility. All right, next question. So I think we got enough questions to basically finish out our night tonight, guys. Is condensation a problem on the Pleximed? Out west, I know my triplex, it's a bit of a problem in the humid states. Yeah, so I think whether you're going with the Pleximed or the duplex or any of those tents, condensation's just a thing. You know, a lot of people worry a lot with condensation on tents. A lot of people are always looking for that tent that just doesn't get condensation. In my experience, all tents get condensation in one way or another. It really just depends on where you're hiking. And that being said, I've hiked in some pretty dry places and still got condensation on the inside of my tent. So I think it's going to happen in any of them. Now, there are tents that condensation becomes more of a problem because the tent kind of sucks it up like a sponge. So, like Sil Nylon tents, I used to own this tent by Six Moons Design called the Skyscape Trekker, and it was horrible with condensation, like any tent. But the problem was that Sil Nylon that they use sucks it up like a sponge. So drying that thing out was a nightmare. So it wasn't necessarily that it got condensation, it was because it took forever for it to dry out, and it just kind of sucked in like a sponge. So I think that they all get condensation. That being said, the Plexamid I've only had out a handful of times now, and the last time that I really used it was when I was attempting to through hike the Knobstone Trail, which is like 56 miles, and it just poured rain. Poured rain. We got completely flooded out. So I don't think condensation was the issue. I think it was the hundreds of gallons of water dropping from the sky on the tent that made everything wet. I mean, everything inside was wet. All my gear was wet. So that was the problem with that tent. But I'll let you know. I actually just took it out yesterday and set it up to do some trial runs with it again. And then obviously I'll definitely be putting it to the test during the Arizona Trail. So I'll definitely get back to you on how much of an issue condensation is with the Plexamed. Yes, it was the Sierras, going through that in May. Oh, the video, right on. Starting out in Idlewild with my sister on April 19th. Can't wait to meet the mayor of Idlewild. Max is awesome. Give Max a scratch behind the ear for me. And the lady that owns Max is really, really cool. Really good people. Definitely meet the mayor. You have to call a number, and she'll actually come and meet you. Max has this truck. For any of you that aren't following what the hell I'm talking about right now, Idlewild, California, which is actually just down the road from here. I can get to Idlewild in a couple hours. Um, their mayor is a dog. It is a Labrador Retriever that has no a golden retriever that has been the mayor for a handful of years, and he's really cool. He's got some really good politics. Um, he really fights the big issues like snacks, like sitting and being a good boy, like fetch. He really tackles the big issues. So I really like him. I think all politicians should be dogs. That's my political stance. So definitely see Max. My daughter lives in Bowling Green. I'm going to check out Red River Gorge. Definitely check out Red River Gorge. River to River is 160 miles. Sounds like a good 5 to 6 day trip. Yeah, dude. Think about that. We got some other hiking to do first, though. Me and Leonidas are going to do some hiking again in the future, for sure. All tents condensate. Yes, they do. All right, guys. So, thanks. I'm going to call this Q&A. We're about 6 minutes over the hour. Thanks to everybody for joining this month's Q&A. I will be posting in a couple days the date for this month's gear giveaway. I'm going to do it like last month where I'm just going to record it and put it up on Patreon. There was not a winner for the day pack that I gave away last month, the prototype Waymark pack. So I will be giving it away again this month. The winner has yet to contact me. I've sent her emails and messages on Patreon tons of times, and I never heard anything back from her. I hope she's okay, but because she didn't respond after a month, it will be going back in to January's gear giveaway. So if you are a level 3 and up patron, keep an eye out for the date for the gear giveaway. For everybody else, thanks again so much for joining me here on the Q&A. I got a lot of good content coming out, and we're getting really close to the website launch, which is next week, and the Arizona Trail documentary. Thanks so much for your support. Hopefully everybody has a great week coming up, and I'll see you next time. Take care of each other. Get out to the national parks, support them, go do some hiking, and love you guys.